Well, students, we're gonna keep weaving these. If a lot of us are about this far along, so I would like you to pick up where you left off. So I've got yellow, green, this is gonna be yellow. If this is over, this one started under, this one's gonna be over. Then it's gonna go under the next one, over, lift this one up, under, over, under. Please remember to push this piece all the way up so that it's touching in the corners. So the yellow touches the green. Once you have it woven, you can take your glue stick, flip that back, glue this, and then press this down. And then remember to do it also on the back. So I'd flip it over, flip this back, glue this piece, and make sure that it's still straight, that it's still lining up, and it's still touching in those corners. Now let's move over to this one that has more done on it. And I want to do an example of this last piece. If these lines right here are not long enough, take your scissors and make this line just a little bit longer and cut it right there, cut it here, and cut each of them long enough. And then you'll be able to weave your last piece through. It is the tightest piece to get to fit, so make sure that you get this last one in. Like if you've got all this space right here, but you don't have a strip of paper, I'm gonna ask you to weave another one through. So it's gonna follow that same pattern. All the yellow ones go up, over, and then under, over, and then under. If I can get it to go through. Over, under, the last one. And please glue this one as well. Once you have it woven, then you're going to stamp it with your designs. I don't have the traditional, you can see I already stamped this side. I do not have the traditional Adinkra stamps and symbols. So that opens the opportunity for a few different things. One, you can pick stamps and designs based on things that resemble stuff. Like this one kind of looks to me like a water droplet. So if I really like to swim, or I like to, I love the rain or something like that, you could pick one that resembles something that you like. Now, if there aren't any examples of stamps that remind you of things, it is okay to pick something that you just really like the way it looks, like you think that looks like a cool design. I just would like you to pick two so that you can stamp them. I'll try to give you an extra sheet of paper like this so you can at least test the stamp first to make sure that it's working well for you. And I picked this one. You can put it on the stamp pad. This will stain your clothes, it will stain your fingers. So be careful not to touch this with your fingers. That's why there's a little point on here. So then you can just touch it a little bit and you can test it. Now sometimes when I set it down, I'll just press it just to really get it to stamp. Sometimes it takes a minute to kind of prime the stamp so that it has enough ink on it. So you might need to test it a few times before, so you can see that one looks better than the last one that I did. So it's starting to get enough ink on it. Now, once you think that you've tested it, that it's got enough ink, then you should begin stamping it. When I stamp it, I'm just gonna stick with one stamp for a while. So here I would set this one in here. Now, if it's a little bit off, don't move it. It will make it smear, it'll make it look worse. So sometimes you'll have stamps that are darker and some that are lighter. So here I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna continue stamping them. Line them up press them down in those corners to get those stamped. The way that I'm thinking about this pattern also is that all the red boxes are gonna get the same thing. All of the yellow and green are gonna get the same thing. So that's why I'm doing all the yellows and greens first. Once I have all the yellows and greens done, then I would do the other boxes. Now, I'm not gonna keep stamping all of these because it'll take a long time once you have enough work time, but we'll move on to my next stamp design. Let's flip it over. It dries pretty fast too. So you can see here that you can make it two-sided. So if you have time, it will dry in time for you to stamp the other side. You should put this in the other side of the stamp, the open side. And I'm trying to make them all go the same way. So like I wouldn't all of a sudden turn a stamp. This one, before I use this, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna test it. And that one looks like it's good already. Sometimes this one is just supposed to be lines. If I press too hard in the corner, it will stamp that corner on there too. So this one looks good and it looks like it's going all the same way. And here, I'm gonna stamp that. This one's the opposite of what I did on the other side. The other side, I did this design on all the yellow and green ones. Where on this side, I did this design on all the red ones and then all these wavy designs on all the yellow and green ones. So just make sure you're following a pattern. So it looks kind of like circles, waves, circles, waves, circles, waves. If this is circles, this is waves. So I kind of picked my design just because I really like that design. I thought that was a cool design. And then I picked this one because of the water design. I love to swim. Now the last thing, if there's time, you could do something extra. I got an example here. I would give you an extra sheet of paper and you can stamp your symbol and then you can write an explanation of why you picked that stamp. So here, with this example, I would give you a clean sheet of paper and I would stamp this one maybe right at the top. And then I could write something with my pencil like, I chose this design because I love swimming with my kids, and in the summer, I can't wait for it to be summertime so that we can go to the beach. And just write a simple explanation of why you chose your symbols. And it's okay to stamp a symbol on and say, I chose this symbol because I really like the way that these lines curve and the way that they fit together to create this design. That would be fine too as an explanation if you had time. So let's have fun working on these.